سعيد وامنح الناس حبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك كن سموحا لخصمك تلقى خصمك أحبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك واحتفل بالمودة إنما
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Welcome to another edition of the Sulaimaan Ravat show. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Sunning Hill, Johannesburg this beautiful Friday evening. The cold front has come and gone. So last week was a very warm week, mashallah. August weather in July, as I mentioned. And then over the weekend, depending on which part of the country you live in, and the early part of this week, there was that cold front. It hit. It had a bite in it. Not as bad as I thought it would be in the Gauteng region. But it's gone now, mashallah. And it's warmish. Obviously, we're still in winter, so it's not going to be absolutely warm. But it's warmish once again. Beautiful weather during the day. And from what I understand, during the weekend as well, the weather will be good. All those coming out to the marriage conference tomorrow at the Senton Convention Center, alhamdulillah, I think you'll be pleased to know that the weather is good. I just came now from a dinner here in Marlborough. The organizers of the marriage conference held a dinner for the speakers and the sponsors and the media and some of the well-wishers. And I had to have chichis very quickly. You know, the bride just had to gulp a little bit and gobble it, as they say, and rush off because I had to be here in studio for the program. But I'll talk a little bit more about the marriage conference later in the program, inshallah. I'll be there. I'm also one of the speakers in the workshop. You'll see the title, You Just Don't Understand Me. It has to do with the importance of communication in marriage between 12 and 12:45, 12 o'clock to quarter to 1. That's when I will be doing my workshop there at the marriage conference. So I look forward to seeing many of the viewers of ITV at that particular workshop, inshallah, and I look forward to interacting with you. Now, on a more serious note, on a more somber note, on a more concerning note, for the last week or so, things have been very volatile. Things have been very delicate in Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. And we know what happened last week. There was that incident. There was a disproportionate reaction from the Zionist regime, from the Israelis. And we saw a total lockdown on Masjid al-Aqsa. For the first time in 50 years, the Jummah Salah was not performed. Then on Sunday it was open, but there were these restrictions. The metal detectors and the security cameras, and the Palestinians have been resisting. Remember that even according to international law, access and control there rests with the Palestinians. That's apart from, you know, the historical aspect of it and the religious aspect of it. And the Palestinians throughout the week have been standing their ground, not wanting to concede. And there was a lot of anxiety and tension during the course of the week as well. Sheikh Ikrima Sabri, the former Mufti of Jerusalem, was also shot with rubber bullets. He was injured. There were many injuries. There were even a few deaths. A lot of reports that ambulances were not allowed to reach those people who were hurt, etc. There was a lot of tension as to whether things will flow smoothly today around the Jummah time. And the reports, that came in showed that there was a lot of tension. So, the Ummah globally is on high alert at the moment, very concerned about the happenings in Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. Now, coinciding with that, you may have seen programs during the course of the week on ITV as well with regards to this initiative which is called Shamsan. This is an Arabic word, which in Arabic you have singular, then you have dual, and then you have plural. So you have one word like Shams, which refers to sun, and Shamsan means two suns. And we'll get our guest in studio this evening to explain to us the naming behind this. And it's Palestinian for Peace Tour. That's what it's all about. Palestinians who are standing for peace and for human rights, and that's what it's all about. I mean, it's not that the Palestinians want to be at loggerheads with anybody, not even the Israelis. They just want what is rightfully theirs, and they want to exist peacefully and in harmony. And Muslims have always existed peacefully and harmoniously with Jews, with Christians, and with others in Palestine and in many other parts of the world, even under Muslim rule, even under the rule of the Khilafah, and even under the rule of Muslim kings. So our guests in studio are part of this delegation. It's a much bigger delegation, but we have two generations represented in the studio this evening. The one is Sheikh Basim Tamimi, And the other is our young friend here all the way from Hebron, Muhammad Nawaja. Sheikh Basim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to South Africa and welcome to the program.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having us in your country. This is a good opportunity for us to call the voice of Palestine, the voice of peace, the voice of Muslim, Christian, and Palestinian Jewish also, who are suffering the occupation in our land.
And أخي محمد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته أهلا وسهلا إلى جنوب أفريقيا وإلى البرنامج.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Okay, so our young brother here, Muhammad, speaks in Arabic, and we will talk to him a little later, inshallah. But for now, I want to just interact a little bit with Sheikh Basim. He's a grassroots activist. He comes from a village known as Nabi Saleh, and he has been very active in organizing weekly demonstrations to protest against the seizure of the village's main water supply. He's been arrested numerous times. He spent a lot of time in prison. He's been declared a prisoner of conscience by Amnesty International. Sheikh Basim, firstly, just for the benefit of our viewers, tell us a little bit more about yourself and the village that you come from and your background, your history.
Firstly, I would like to ask everyone to read Al-Fatiha to the spirit of the martyrs who killed today, 3 Muhammad, who passed away and killed by the Israeli army during the protest to protect our holy place, Al-Aqsa Mosque. My name is Basim Tamimi. I am from a small village named Nabi Saleh, 600 persons. I born 1967 under Israeli occupation. I had been in jail 9 times in my life. I was tortured 1993 and become in coma, and I 14 days and paralyzed for a period of time because of the torturing me and violently. I lost my sister when she went to the Israeli military court to see my nephew, and they attacked her and killed her in front of the crime court. And also I have a baccalaureate degree in economic and master degree in international law. We are starting our model of example of non-violent resistance in this small village which named Nabi Saleh, 20 kilometers northwest of Ramallah, 20 kilometers. And we tried to convince our society and our population by this mean, because we believe the mean is to serve the goal. And after September 11, we see that Israel make a link between our legal resistance and the terrorists all over the world, which harm the image of the Palestinian and the Palestinian issue in the international community mentality. For that, we as a group from the middle leader of the first Intifada, we have our experience in that moment, which was the succeeded model of non-violent resistance in our struggle in Palestine. And we see that it's effective. We study the model of South Africa, and Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Mandela, all of these here who use this way of non-violent. And we see that it's the way to protect our religion also, because the world want to link a terrorist with Islam. But Islam is not a terrorist religion. The Zionists who want to push the region, all the region, to the religious conflict, and to show that the people or the Palestinian or Arab or Muslim targeting or want to kill the Jewish, not the Israeli. We want to show that we are against the colonization, the occupation, the stealing of our land. This is what our message. For that, we try to convince our society and call our voice through this way of resistance, which we like to name it popular struggle, to show how the population, when they became united and go out and shout their voice, hands by hands, women, children, and men, they can win the struggle in front of the military state of Israel, because in this way of resistance, we have the moral power in front of the material power of our enemy, which this give us the advantage, and we can succeed to show how it's effective. This is our يعني, strategy in that way. We don't want to just to talk about the peace resistance or non-violent resistance or moral struggle. We want to build the model on the ground, to convince the example by the example, not just by talking. Talking mean that if you don't go in front of your belief, nobody can follow you. For that, you must يعني, take the first step to go after your belief. And we believe that our religion, our human rights, the international law, every thing is with us, with our rights. For that, we must use the mean that's suitable for our issue, that more acceptable, that more available, that more achievable, because it's give you in South Africa and everywhere as a human rights defender, as a freedom fighter, as who believe in the human rights and the human value, as believe in your role by your religion to support the victim everywhere, to have the opportunity to do your duty and your responsibility.
Now, this particular initiative, Shamsan, Palestinians for Peace Tour, how did it originate, and what exactly is the specific objective of this tour to South Africa?
As I told you, we start our model on the ground. For that, we have been known everywhere by a lot of videos and a lot of documents that show how we struggle and how we face and how we suffer and how we targeted by the Israeli army. For that, when because our children are participated, our women are participated, there start two girls in Nabi Saleh, that my daughter Ahad Tamimi, which face the army and protect her brothers when they start to arrest him, to arrest her mom, and she became known everywhere, and she was invited everywhere to talk about the Palestinian issue. And the other one is the youngest journalist in the world, Jana Jihad, which took her family when she was 9 years old and start filming and documenting and broadcasting everything through Facebook, through Twitter, and all of that. This, our friends from South Africa, Nadia Mir, she came and visited us, and her idea it was to represent the Palestinian issue through the children. 12 story for 12 child who draw some drawing and been something to show how he can explain through his draw and been to the Palestinian issue and his suffering. And she went to South Hebron Hill, to Susia, the village which demolished a lot of time, and she met Muhammad, for example, and he drew something and he can explain. And she come to Nabi Saleh. She went to Doma, to the Wabshi family, to see the child Muhammad Dawabshi, who was lost his family, who burned by the terrorist settler inside their home, and he was burned, and he still have a lot of problem. And when he draw his drawing, he drew two sons, Shamsan. For that, we took the name from the drawing which done by Muhammad Dawabshi. And this is also give a message that he lost his parents. And it shows that we want to put light on the Palestinian issue issue through the drawing of these children. By this 12 story, which يعني done by 12 child who has يعني their experience in front of the occupation, we make the calendar. And our friends here in South Africa with Awqaf and with the Ahmed Katrada Foundation and a lot of institutions that who was participating in this project and others in other countries. It's give the opportunity for a lot of people to see in front of them in their office the calendar with the 12 months, with the 12 story, with the 12 Palestinian suffering, with the 12 child in front of them, showing and talking about his suffering and what he want and what he need from resisting the occupation.
Okay, it's time to go for a break. When we come back, we continue the discussion with our guests in studio. Welcome back. The focus is on Al-Aqsa, the focus is on Palestine, and we have in studio two guests who are part of the Shamsan Palestinians for Peace tour. You may have heard about it. It's been advertised quite a bit on social media. There were a few programs this week on ITV and other Muslim media highlighting this particular initiative. And there have been a number of children that have come as part of this initiative. And Brother Basim was explaining prior to the break as to what the background is and what they are trying to achieve. Brother Basim, I wanted to ask you about your grassroots initiatives and these protests that you organize on a regular basis that has led to you being arrested many a times. Tell us more about that.
As I told you, we want to create a model of non-violent resistance. We throw in this small village which named Abi Saleh as it's my village. We protest weekly since December 9, 2009. We start in that date to make a link with the first Intifada date. And we march the street. We try to protect the farmer and the owner of the land who were attacked a lot of time by the Israeli settler and the Israeli army. We try to plant our land. We try to reach our spring. We have two gates in the entrance of the village. After the first and the second Intifada, they put these gates. Since 2001, 2004, it was closed. One of these two gates, they open it, but they open and start. Sometimes they close, open and they close, and this all the time. We are the entrance of a lot of people, a lot of villages. It's the region named Bani Zaid, which we have around with the Salfit region. It's around 50,000 people who enter from these gates. The second one was until now closed, and now they closed and open it a lot of time. For that, we want to as I told you, to call the voice of the Palestinian, that we are existing in our land. We can't be silent under occupation. We will resist until we end the occupation, and we need to support the villages who are targeted by the war, which started 2002-2003, and a lot of villages start going out to protect their olive trees and their land. But we don't want to show that our issue is the wall or the settlement, because all of this is the shape of the problem, the form of the problem. It's not the problem itself. The problem is the occupation. The big settlement in Palestine, it's named Israel. And all of these is the component of the problem. For that, we struggle to end the occupation, to end the colonization, to destroy the the Zionist project, colonization project in our land, because our enemy is the Zionist, is the colonization. For that, it's part of indicating of this mean to be the strategy to follow in the future to free all of Palestine. During these weekly demonstrations, we face a lot of violence from the army and the settler. Because of that, we have three martyrs, Mustafa Tamimi and Rushdie Tamimi. Mustafa Tamimi 2011, December 2011. Rushdie Tamimi November 2012. And Saba Ubaid, he killed before 2 months when the hunger strike protest for supporting the prisoners. We have more 220 arresting case. We have more than 350 injured person. We have 13 demolition order for houses which located in Area C. And this means that 80% of the village, they demolished one of these houses. One of these houses is mine. And maybe they will not demolish the house. But what it's mean, what they want, why they use this way of punishing the Palestinian, they not allow me to take a risk and build a floor on my home or use my land in Area C, which is 62% of the West Bank. And this is as Susia, all of Susia is under demolition order because it's located in Area C. Area C 62%. For that, my 4 child or this generation in Susa and other place, they can't take a risk and build home. They will be replaced to Area B, Area C, and it's crowded to outside Palestine. It's a type of silent ethnic cleansing in Area C, but a soft and silent way. They don't push by force, by put difficulties in the life for the people, and this destroy the shape of the villages, which became extended vertically, which mean a lot of problem, and this became crowded, which destroy the view of Palestine. And you see the red roof, which is not the view of Palestinian village, it's the settlement. And if you pass through the roads, you see that the Palestinian views disappeared, start be not shown when you are passing the streets. This is the small village of Nabi Saleh. What's happened? But also we participate as a group of Nabi Saleh and a group of who lead the non-violent resistance in the West Bank. We make a coordination committee and we make a leadership for the non-violent resistance, and we make a lot of activity. Like we close the 443 street, which just for settler to indicate for racism. And we also close the supermarket of Rami Levi, which is for the normalization, economic normalization. I was arrested in that for 4 months because of we closed that supermarket. We create the Bab Shams village near Jerusalem to protect the land in front of the settlement. We create another village named in the Jordan Valley, Ain Hijli, to indicate for 28% of the West Bank, which is the agriculture land, which is now empty of the Palestinian. They push Palestinian out, just 5,000 Palestinians who are living there. This mean we want to indicate for this mean. We make a lot of activity through the BDS, because BDS is part of the non-violent resistance, and it's a tool in hands of our friends in all over the world. We do a lot of activity that put a pressure in our enemy, and we make a partnership with all the freedom fighters in the world, and this is who bring us to South Africa, because we feel the South African model is the more model who are maybe similar to the Palestinian issue, and we now a group of Palestinian activists and a group of Palestinian who are leading this activity. We are now talking about the one-state solution after the Israeli destroy the two-state solution, and after the world are with the Israeli, with the Zionists. We try to create the same model of what's happened in South Africa to destroy the apartheid regime and system and the state which named Israel, and to build a state for peace for all its residents. And this need the pressure from outside. It's need to have your experience in your country, in your struggle, and this a good opportunity for our children to see and to know and to learn how you struggle and what is the meaning to win your struggle.
Now, tell us a little bit more about our young friend here, Mohammed Nawaja. Tell us about him, his background, and just inform the viewers a little bit about his life story.
He will speak.
Yes, you can ask him.
بدي اسالك انك بدك تحكي لنا عنك وعن حياتك وعن يعني شو بتعمل وشو اللي في القريه وشو اللي بصير.
اسمي محمد محمود نواجعة من فلسطين من قرية سوسيه. برحب في الجميع اللي بيشوفوني بيسمعوا شو بالعيني.
He said, I am Muhammad Nawaja from Susia near Hebron, and I welcome in everyone who's seeing me and hearing me.
نحن لما نروح على المدرسة الاحتلال بيحاول مضايقة الطلاب يمنعهم الذهاب إلى المدرسة.
When we are going to our school, the occupation forces stopped us and don't allow us to go to our schools.
بيطارد الطلاب بخوفهم الذهاب على المدرسة، فهيك الطلاب بيتعلموش وبصير إشي سلبي حياة الأطفال، حقد كبير في حياة الأطفال.
And because of that, a lot of people can't have a good education. For that, they lose their education, and this will be a bad issue and bad habitat in their life, and this is a suffering for these children.
والاحتلال بيحاول كمان منع العلم، بيمنعنا الذهاب كمان إلى المدرسة، والمدرسة مخطرة للهدم.
And also, not just they can't go to the school, also the school had a demolition order because it's located in area C.
وكمان سوسي خط الدفاع الأول لكل المسافر أو القرى، إذا انهدمت سوسيا كل القرى بتنهدم.
And he said that Susia is in the first line in front of the settlement and in front of the villages who are under demolition order. If they demolish Susia, it's mean they will demolish a lot of villages around.
ولو تحررت سوسيا أنا مش مبسوط لأنه فلسطين ما تحررتش. إذا تحررت سوسيا الاحتلال بعاوز يرجع يحتل سوسيا.
And I'm not to be glad if the Susia will be free, because I want Palestine, all Palestine to be free, because if Susia will be free, they will be returned back, but we want all Palestine to be free.
وإن شاء الله بتتحرر فلسطين وإحنا راح نظل نقاوم من أجل فلسطين ومن أجل سوسيا.
And he said, inshallah, that Palestine will be free, and we will continue struggling, resisting until we free Susia and free Palestine.
وإحنا في القرية كمان عايشين برعب من قبل الاحتلال الإسرائيلي، فبنظل نقاوم مستحملين الحياة، ماشيين في الحياة.
And in our village we face a lot of violence, a lot of fear because of the settlement, because of the occupation, but we existing and continuing our life.
وإن شاء الله زي ما تحررت أفريقيا وزي ما قاومت أفريقيا إحنا راح نقاوم.
And he said, inshallah, how the South Africa struggle and how South Africa become free, we will struggle and become free. I want to add something about Susia. Susia is a small village which near Yatta and near in South Hebron Hills. And 1993, a settler came and put their settlement in Susia land, and they withdraw and push out the Palestinian. And now they live away from the old Susia. Now they are just 200 person. مش انتم 200 اليوم؟ 200 person. 1983 was around 800 person. They live in caves They live in tents without electricity, without water supply. They have well, and the settler all the time came and destroy all their life. They demolished the village several times.
If you can ask him to tell us a little bit more about his art and also what are some of his hopes and aspirations for life, what would he like to become and do?
بقول لك شو اللي بعطيك المعنويات في حياتك، وشو انت بتحب تصير، وشو بتعمل، وشو انت املك في الحياة، وشو بتحب تكون.
اللي بعطيني أمل في الحياة المدافع عن فلسطين وعن حريتي، المقاومة من أجل الحرية.
What give me a hope, inspire me that I resist for Palestine for freedom.
أنا عندي 3 أهداف في حياتي.
He had 3 goals.
ما شاء الله.
الهدف الأول إن أكون إعلامي.
He would like to be a journalist.
ما شاء الله.
إعلامي من شان زي أصور شو بصير في القرية، أصور كيف أنا كنت أعاني، أرجع للقرية إذا فلسطين ما تحررتش، أصور كيف عانوا اللي أجوا الجيل اللي أجا وراي.
To show how the Palestinian suffering and the village suffering and to show the Palestinians through the journalist.
ومترجم اللغة الإنجليزية.
And if that maybe English translator.
ما شاء الله.
من شان أجلب الناس من باقي الدول زي أفريقيا، أمريكا، إيطاليا، كل الدول أجلبهم أحكي لهم كيف أنا عانيت، واللي بيعاني مثلي أحكي لهم.
And he want to throw his English to call everyone in the world and to teach them and talk about his suffering in the Palestinian issue and to protect his issue.
ما شاء الله.
إذا ما تحققنيش الهدفين هذول، الهدف الثالث إذا ما تحررتش فلسطين، مقاومة من أجل فلسطين، مقاومة.
And he all the most important issue that his goal is to resist to free Palestine.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So inspiring for us to see this kind of aspirations, notwithstanding the difficulty. We're out of time, Sheikh Basim, but lastly, what is your message to the South African audience watching the program this evening?
I would like to thank everyone who support us and who help us, and we highly appreciate your attention and your supporting for our issue. I would like to ask them to do their duty and their responsibility, to be with the victim, to support the Palestinian issue, to be our partner in the struggle for the humanity, because we are all suffering the same enemy. Israel is not the problem. Israel is the guard for the interest of the capitalism and colonization and military industry in all over the world. Your country have and your government have interest with this state. Because of that, we want to put the pressure in all the government all over the world, and it's the time to have the same experience of the South African struggle, to have the international movement to end the apartheid and the occupation in Palestine. For that, it's part of your duty. And for our brother and sister Muslim in South Africa, Al-Aqsa is the Ula al-Qiblatain, the first of the Qiblatain, and the third holy mosque. And this is your responsibility. If they destroy and demolish the Al-Aqsa, this means that no mosque will be protected in all over the world. This is the time to put hands on hands, to call the voice of humanity, to voice of real Islam, not the Islam that's stolen by ISIS and the terrorists, but we want to see that our Islam is the message of peace and the message of love and the message of freedom and the message of equality. And we need your support by coming to Palestine, by doing your duty here in South Africa, to boycott the Israeli product and who support Israel, not just Israel. For that, we are happy and glad to be here, and this is a good opportunity for us, and we thank you, and we need you also.
Sheikh Basim and Sheikh Muhammad, Jazakumullah to both of you for your time this evening, and enjoy the rest of your trip in South Africa.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam
Wa shukran lakum.
Okay, so that's two guests from the Shamsan delegation, Palestinians for Peace tour. You will find out the details for this particular tour, different initiatives in different parts of the country on social media. Time for a break. When we come back, we continue the discussion and the focus on circumstances in Masjid al-Aqsa and how we as Muslims need to view it and approach it. Welcome back. Now, as I mentioned in my introduction, there is a lot of concern as to the situation in Masjid al-Aqsa, and I think that it's a good opportunity for us to remind ourselves with regards to three categories of things. Number one, why is Masjid al-Aqsa so dear to us? Number two, what should be our perspective on the Palestinians and their resistance? And number three, what should we do? Now, firstly, I think, we know that Masjid al-Aqsa is a virtuous place. We know it's the first Qibla, the second masjid to be established on planet Earth. But we need from time to time to remind ourselves, just to refresh our memories as to why we hold Masjid al-Aqsa so dear to our hearts. So first Qibla, second masjid established on earth. It is a land that is sanctified, right? So the Haram Sharif, it's that square piece of area, that is the Haram, that is the sanctified area. On that area you've got different masjids. The masjid with the black dome, the masjid with the gold dome, which is known as Dome of the Rock, the Marwani Musalla sector. All of those masjids are virtuous because they are part of that land. Then the entire land surrounding it, which is Al-Quds, Jerusalem, that is virtuous. And then the broader area, the broader Sham area, all of that is virtuous. The scholars have written that area, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has made reference to it about 70 times in the Quran Kareem. Then it's the place of Isra and Mi'raj, that miraculous journey of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You perform salah there, the reward is multiplied by 500. You tie your ihram there for umrah, the reward is greater. Many Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam are linked to that region. Right, so not only Masjid al-Aqsa itself, where you had Zakaria alayhi salam, Yahya alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, Dawud alayhi salam, Sulaimaan alayhi salam. Then in Khalili, in Hebron, you've got Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ishaq alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam, Yusuf alayhi salam also linked to that region. Musa alayhi salam was on his way there. Then you've got Shu'aib alayhi salam and others in the broader Sham region. There are 4,000 Sahaba buried there. 4,000 Sahaba. Then it's also linked to Qiyamah. This place of Aqsa, it's the land of Hashar and Mahshar, the land of gathering and resurrection. Umar radiallahu an, after he had taken over and after he signed that agreement, when the city was handed over to him, he made the entire area waqf. He refused to distribute it amongst the Muslim soldiers. He made it waqf so it can continue to benefit the Muslim generations to come. So we should understand that this is not just an ordinary dispute over a piece of land. Like, two brothers are fighting as to who gets the house in the inheritance, or two partners are fighting as to who the property belongs to. No, this is something of much greater significance. We need to understand it. Secondly, we need to understand that this problem around Masjid al-Aqsa in particular and Palestine in general is not only the problem of the Palestinian people, especially Masjid al-Aqsa, because it's dear to all of us as Muslims. So it is our problem. It's not their problem, it's our problem. You see, if there was any ordinary dispute over a piece of land, then you'll sympathize with the person. Okay, you and your brother having it out over that piece of land, or you and your partner. I sympathize with you. I have a view on who's right and who's wrong. I give you my moral support. But hey, at the end of the day, it's your business. It's your problem. It's not my problem. No. Masjid al-Aqsa is our problem as the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Palestinians are fulfilling a responsibility on behalf of the entire Ummah. Let's never forget that. They have their weaknesses. They are human beings like us. Sometimes people travel to Palestine and they say, I saw this vice and that evil and that wrong. Indeed, vice or evil or transgression of any limits of Allah or the breaking of any commands of Allah is serious. But then who are we to be so judgmental or to have that, self-righteous, approach when there are so many evils and so many vices and so many transgressions of the commands of Sharia within our own communities. Remember that irrespective of the other whatever Israel has achieved from its perspective in terms of Palestinian land being taken and control and control over resources, it has struggled to take control of Masjid al-Aqsa. And for that, we have to give a lot of credit to the Palestinian people, to those who live in Quds, to those who live in Jerusalem. Many of us may be thinking, but okay, why are they making such a big issue about metal detectors and security cameras as long as the masjid was open again? For them, it's about showing that, you know what, we will not allow you to take from us piece by piece. We will not allow you to gain dominion over us. You may have stolen land, you may have occupied us, you may have done a lot of things in various parts of Palestine. But when it comes to Masjid al-Aqsa, we are going to hold steadfast. We are prepared to do whatever it takes to preserve what is ours according to international law and according to the history of it and according to the religious side of it. So Masjid al-Aqsa will be liberated, inshallah. Masjid al-Aqsa will be liberated by the permission of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. The question is, what part will you and I play? Okay, of course, dua is most important. We must never trivialize dua, but at the same time, we should not only, restrict ourselves to dua. Dua is vital. It's the most important thing. Because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, prior to the day of Badr, which was that great victory against all odds, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam spent the entire night in dua. Dua is important. We have to visit Masjid al-Aqsa. We have to give financial assistance. All of that is on its place. But beyond that, you see, because every time something like this happens, whether it's a bombardment in Gaza or whether it is an attack on Masjid al-Aqsa or Masjid al-Aqsa under lockdown, under siege, we will talk about it. We will feel pain, and the feeling of pain is a sign of Iman. It's a sign of faith. Because this is not only a human rights issue for us, it is a human rights issue, but it's also a religious issue for us. We don't have to be apologetic in that regard. But what we need to understand is a few things, that we'll only prosper and we'll only be able to effect meaningful change if we start to do certain practical, constructive things. Number one, we have to change our lives. We have to reform. Now, this is something we don't like to talk about. It's something we don't like to think about. We try to conveniently just push it to the periphery. But in reality, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Conditions will not change until you don't change. You don't change and you don't improve the state of your relationship with Allah. Now, we can't wait for the leaders to change. We can't wait for others to change. We have to change. We must do what is within our control. Each one of us must hold ourselves responsible and accountable for these conditions that have afflicted the ummah from the side of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Then I am a contributor towards it because my actions are not in order, so I need to start changing. Whether that has an effect or not, ultimately, that is out of my control, but at least I can stand before Allah and say that, look, I have made an effort. Secondly, when we feel pain, that's normal, but we need to use that pain as an energizer. We need to use that pain as an energizer to say, okay, how can I utilize that pain to do something constructive? Now, what are some of the things that we can do which is constructive? Number one, educate yourself beyond the rhetoric. We can all pump our fists in the air and say, bi-ruh, bi-dam. We can all, utter slogans. But how many of us can hold a conversation? An accurate and a substantive conversation on Palestine for longer than 5 minutes? Can our youth argue the Palestinian issue with facts? Like they can argue who's better between Ronaldo and Messi, and who's supposed to be in the squad and not the squad. Unity, as I always say, will not start on a global level, it starts on a local level. We need to be united in our marriages, in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our communities and congregations. Then unity will spread from the bottom upwards. So these are things that we can do right now. You see, these incidents now should be a wake-up call. Let me educate myself on the Palestinian issue. Let me keep the issue alive. Whether it be in the media, whether it be by talking about it, by holding workshops. Let me play my part towards unity. My own brother, my own neighbor, in my own house, in my own congregation, whatever differences we have, let's rise beyond it. Let's work towards building capacity in individuals in our own localities, and that is how we will build capacity in the ummah. Let's broaden our circle of concern. Let it not become only a Muslim issue. Muslims have the faith angle, but there are many non-Muslims who see it from a peace angle, from a human rights angle. Let's work with them. And again, ultimately, I'm saying that like Musa ﷺ said to the Banu Israel at the time of the height of Pharaoh's oppression, Ista'inu billah. You need to seek assistance from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Wasbiru, and you need to persevere, meaning persevere in being a good servant of Allah. Okay, we'll leave it there for this week. Tomorrow is the marriage conference. I will be there, inshallah. I will really look out for the viewers of ITV. At 12 o'clock, I will be doing a workshop. It's titled, You Just Don't Understand Me. It's about communication in marriage. Very important. Remember, communication in marriage is not only for those marriages that are in turbulence. Communication in marriage is for every marriage to make your marriage even better. So 12 o'clock tomorrow, the workshop between 12 and 12:45, inshallah, on communication in marriage at the Senton Convention Center. Look out for it in the brochure, and I look forward to interacting with the viewers of ITV. Until next time, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
جميل المساعي وامنح الناس حبك